pleasant day to all of you watching Agenda. I pray that you are all well and looking forward to a nice, wonderful, productive week. Welcome, and today is June 20, 2022. It's a Monday, another start, and we are essentially past the middle of the month, so time flies by. Welcome. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH, and maraming salamat po for continuing to watch Agenda, whether on Cignal channels 8 and 250 or on facebook.com/onenewsph or on YouTube. Maraming salamat. Today, let's get on with our daily starter. And it is a good reminder for all of you na mahilig na maraming kaibigan. Our daily starter for today goes, a friend who stands with you in times of pressure is more valuable than 100 friends who will stand with you at times of pleasure. Tandaan niyo po yan, may mga kilala tayong mga sikat o dating sikat na artista, mga sikat na mga media personalities, former politicians, etc. And then suddenly one day when they are no longer sikat, ay wala na rin silang friendship. So as some people say, one of the true wisdoms in getting old is you discover you don't need so many friends. Just one handful. Yung mabibilang lang sa kamay mo, pero laging kasama mo. Okay, iba na, may pinagsamahan, di ba? Okay, let's move forward to the front page of the Philippine Star, and I will read for you the headline of today's paper, June 20, 2022. Sarah takes oath. And her declaration, God, country, family first. Sabi ni Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, hindi siya ang pinakamatalino, hindi siya ang pinakamagaling, pero walang tatalo sa kanyang tibay at puso ng Pilipino. Okay. At the top of the paper, on the header, Cebu Governor ignores DILG face mask ultimatum. Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia says, only the court can make me change my position, not an outgoing secretary of the DILG. Ayan ay sinasabi natin. Pagkupas ka na, hinahampas ka na. Okay. Meanwhile, there's that photo of our gymnast Kaloy Yulo in his winning performance on the parallel bar at the 9th Senior Artistic Gymnastic Asian Championships in Doha, Qatar. Okay, the Filipino world champ also ruled the floor exercise and the vault and took silver in the individual all-around exercise. Okay, and 120,000 health workers yet to receive COVID allowance. Promises. Puno sila ng promises. Okay. And that photo, of course, in the center of the page, front page, you have photo of Sara Duterte taking her oath. Okay, during the inaugural ceremonies in Davao, and photo of Amy Marcos, Sara Duterte, her mom, Mrs. Elizabeth Zimmerman, and then President Digong Duterte, President-elect Bongbong Marcos, incoming First Lady, ang hirap sabihin kasi Luis okay, his wife Luis, and also their San Ilocos Norte Representative Alexandro Marcos. Okay, pasensya na incoming First Lady kasi sa akin ang Luis, yun yung pangalan ko panglalaki, kanya medyo nautal tayo. Okay, meanwhile, the bottom photo of runners that you see are joggers participating in the Rock and Roll Running Series in Manila yesterday. No red tagging, just naming CPP allies. Wala na raw red tag. Wala nang baka-baka. Basta sigurado ng kasama ng CPP, NPA, etc. The incoming Defense Chief, Retired General Jose Faustino Jr. said, we will name names. Okay, China's sea incursions, part of broader provocation. According to the United States, sabi ng US, nang pipikon ang China para medyo mas lumawak ang ang asaran. Pero anong ginawa mo? Puro kayo daldal. Okay, BSP chief, highest paid government official in 2021. And last but not the least, that photo, the bottom right, is a picture of the groundbreaking ba ito or laying of a time capsule at in Iloilo for the new BSP building in Iloilo Business Park. Okay, those are our front page headlines. Now let's go to our interviews this morning. Okay, Gab? Wait a minute mga kaibigan, para po alam ninyo. So you know, we have two topics today. And the first topic will be about news, journalism, media, and the discovery that people seem to trust the news but aren't too attached to the news outlets anymore. And after that, we will have an interview regarding teachers naman who want to go back to face-to-face classes but are also pushing for the right to go on vacation. Kasi dapat summer vacation and then face-to-face classes. Ay sabi ng DepEd, wag muna kasi kailangan natin ng remedial classes. Anyway, let's go to our first topic and here's the background. The overall trust in news among Filipinos has risen, putting the Philippines among the few countries that have furthered gains made at the peak of COVID-19 pandemic. But the higher trust level is accompanied by declining trust ratings of individual news brands. Kumbaga, hindi na sila brand conscious o brand loyal. Matagal ko na sinasabi yan Okay? This was revealed by a 2022 report of the Institute for Journalism of Reuters. Okay. Now, for this topic, let's go get to know our guest courtesy of Team Agenda. Go, Gab!
Basbaño is the president of the Kapisanan ng Broadcaster ng Pilipinas, or KBP. Basbaño is also the vice president and chief operating officer of the AM division of Bombo Radio Philippines.
Let's welcome Mr. Herman Basbaño, President KBP or Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Sir Herman, good morning sa imo.
Mayong aga. Good morning, Cito, at sa ating mga tagapakinig. Kuwang-kuha mo
Bakit naman po?
Yung KBP, sabi mo.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us this morning. And I took special interest of the study nitong Reuters University of Journalism because it would seem na nagkakatotoo na yung sinasabi ng marami that there is now a growing trend of the public listening to the news but not attaching as much importance to the news outlets or the news companies that generate it. Kumbaga, parang nagiging generic na yung requirement, hindi na specific. Are you familiar with this study, sir?
Well, I have browsed over that study, although hindi ko nabasa lahat. Pero yan, intindihan din natin yan, Cito. Kasi ever since, no, content naman talaga yung hinahabol ng ating mga publiko, di ba? Of course, ang branding noon, andyan kung saan yung paborito nilang announcer, paborito nilang newscaster, no, network, andyan yun kasama. But now, siguro, dahil na may mga content na makukuha sila sa ibang sources, so ang hinahabol nila talaga primarily yung content, Cito.
Okay, now what does this say, or what is the impact? Ano ang epekto nito sa Pilipinas? Because there are people who are saying that mainstream media, yung baga merong mga tower, merong mga broadcast station, etc. Some people are saying they're slowly becoming irrelevant because of digitalization, and thus it may reduce or minimalize our strength or our contribution to society?
Well, of course, maraming medium na ngayon, may social media. But I would like to believe still na yung mainstream media nandyan pa rin na Cito. Kasi we are I don't want to say the more bankable medium, But we have the face, we have the address, we have, the code, like in the KBP, di ba? That can be really good tool for us to be supported still by the public. Kasi meron tayong sistema, mayroon tayong rules, di ba? Na kailangan talaga for us to come out good in our business, which is, of course, to disseminate the truth, disseminate accurate news, no? Andyan yan sa atin. Kaya medyo mahirapin siguro matanggal yung mainstream media. And besides, Cito, we also have co-opted with the new technology and the new ideas. So hindi talaga mawala rin sa atin. We know how to adapt, Cito. And I think everyone in the mainstream media is doing that. Ginagawa natin yan. Kaya I beg to disagree na, dying industry o mawawala na ang mainstream media. Nandito pa rin tayo, Cito, I'd like to believe.
Is this a self-inflicted wound? Kumbaga, did we miss something? Or is this a generational change or something na technology-driven?
Well, lahat siguro may epekto eh. Hindi naman natin maiwasan that world is changing, di ba? Iba na yung era ngayon kaysa noon. But again, as I said, may mga paraan naman yan. Again, ulitin ko, na pwede naman natin gamitin nga for our advantage yung mga new ideas, new technology na yan. At again, we have to make use of our strength. Like for example, sabi ko nga, we are also, the system na may maasahan pa tayo, mas mapaniwalaan tayo dahil nandiyan yung ating mga pamamaraan, di ba? Pinapasunod natin yung mga miyembro natin sa mainstream media sa Code of Ethics. Then we have the board, the board of our peers na, kung may mali dyan, kinokorek natin. We, sanction them, we penalize them if there are violations na wala siguro pa sa ibang media. Kaya we can be trusted still by our people, provided sundin natin yung Code of Ethics that we have to be truthful, we have to be, factual, we have to be accurate in what we are dishing out to the public, Cito.
Okay, now, one of the core issues, kumbaga, sabi even Elon Musk said it, I think, no? I remember reading an article quoting Elon Musk saying, one of the primary reasons he bought Twitter was because there was so much negativity in mainstream media. That may be an isolated case in America, but people have said that na masyado nang puno ng negative information ang mainstream media or ang media in general, traditional media, so much so that people have been turned off. Now, what is the truth here? Are we serving what the customer demands, or are we serving what we have become so familiar with that we no longer want to venture into kumbaga, to evolve or change our offerings?
Well, we don't have control over what happens, Cito, no? Ang balita ay nanggagaling yan sa kung anong pangyayari, which tayo sa media naman ay may role, which is to, of course, carry it. No? Tayo lang naman yung tagadala ng balita sa ating mga mamamayan. So we do not change the news, we just carry it. Sabi ko nga, basta factual, truthful, binabalita natin yan sa ating mga kababayan. And that is happening also in other parts of the world. Although may mas different circumstances, like in the US, na may mga rasones naman na yung polarization doon, naging rason yan kung anong mga negative effects sa media. But in the Philippines, I think we still are doing our part. Nandyan pa rin tayo. And the mainstream media is here to stay. Yung sinasabi natin na siguro may iwas sa news sila dahil napupuno na o maraming negative. Siguro it's because of the fact, Cito, na for the past 2 years, siguro we have been battered psychologically, mentally, emotionally, or even economically by the coronavirus pandemic, di ba? Na siguro ayaw natin makinig muna. We don't want to have additional stressors dahil na marami na tayong problema brought about by apprehension mo, anxiety mo, ang mag-anak mo, kasakit, may mga epekto na wala ka ng trabaho. So that I think is understandable. But for as long as we do our job, well, siguro babalik din ng mga tao. Then I think marami pa, big chunk of our public are still listening to us, no? Although media, social media, nandyan yun. Pero of course, there are still a lot of things also to be desired sa social media, which are more than willing to help out by the way, Cito, no? Our code of ethics, we're more than willing to share it with the others, Cito.
Yeah, but as a business model or as a business concern and in terms of success and profitability, has social media taken away so much? Kasi parang I used to teach at the Development Academy of the Philippines, and I would always tell every batch, huwag kayong masyadong umaasa. Do not presume that Facebook is the only portal to go to because not everybody has an account or it is a selective viewing site. So, but most people seem to, may Facebook naman hindi, Twitter ko na lang, etc. And then the business, if I go through the papers now, even advertisers don't advertise so much in print, even on broadcast, and they have been doing a lot of their promotions online or on social media. How do you prevent this wave from drowning mainstream media?
Well, that's a challenge for us in the media, no? But again, importante kung anong gagawin natin para, ma-maintain yung status where we are in right now, no? We just have to do our share. We have to make sure that we are credible. Dahil importante yan for one to be followed, di ba? Kailangan yun, for example, sa news department natin, kailangan we have to check and double check, make sure na tama yung binabalita natin. Then that will make us credible. And once you have the credibility, your rating goes up. Of course, alam natin yan yung fulfillment mo, di ba? If you're a broadcaster especially, kung marami kang tagapakinig, di ba? Malaking bagay yan sa isang broadcaster, sa isang journalist, na maraming isang followers kaysa sa wala, di ba? And that makes, of course, that goes without saying that if you have that, the credibility, the good rating, the following, yung susunod yan yung revenues. It's easy to sell also, no? Because it cannot be denied, Cito. Nakalagay dyan sa study yata na some of the media entities are more into just, getting commercials. Well, we do not deny the fact, Cito, that we need revenues. Saan tayo kukuha ng pangsweldo? Saan tayo kukuha ng pangkuryente, pangbayad sa electric bills natin, sa mga upgrading ng equipments natin? But we make sure, many I know of, the networks, including TV5 and the rest, many members of the KBP, make sure that separate the news and Public Affairs Department yung humawak ng news nga para hindi magkonflikto sa sales. But I know of many in the news and the public affairs and the network would sacrifice revenue for the sake na ma-maintain ng credibility natin. Separate yan. You do not tinker ang mga taga-news. You tinker with their work. Pagkagalitan ka nila. People wouldn't allow, in the news department, would allow you to tinker with their work. And the network, of course, have that policy most of the time. Na it should be independent talaga yung news. So kaya kailangan credibility for us to also get good rating. And then, of course, revenue will follow, Cito.
Okay, now, you said earlier na we have no choice in what comes out in terms of news because we don't manufacture news. We don't create news. We only cover and report the news. But there is that choice, that matter of choice exercised by the newsroom, by current affairs units, etc. Now, some people would say, paano naman ang hinahanap nyo kung ilan ang patay? Kung 5 lang ang patay, konti. Hinahanap ninyo 10 nasunog na bahay. In other words, the accusation is we tend to favor catastrophe, multiple death scenarios, etc., or failure, rather, and very little is featured in terms of, hey, this guy really did well, this guy is so excellent, etc. What is the KBP doing about this?
Well, again, we have just to refer to our code of ethics, no? Dahil na kung puro lang gross at saka hindi negative yung story, para hindi lang naman yun ang dapat, no? Maybe we're not perfect, no? Meron siguro mga violations, magawa rin yung iba, but as a matter of rule, ang pinapasunod natin ay should be always balanced. Hindi lang negative. Even sa COVID, Cito, if you will notice, of course, balita una, yung mga pangyayari na maraming affected, maraming nagkasakit. Ang ginawa naman, di ba, ng media, if you'll notice, is the focus on the work of our medical practitioners, the research on the vaccine. Alam mo kung yung iba, they avoided the news because of yung sa mga maraming nagkakasakit. Na-miss nila yung maraming mga stories na nagsunod doon na kung paano ginawa yung research sa vaccine, kung paano minadali yun.
Yes.
It could have been a good inspirational, good stories for us to have, reduce the stress.
Yeah, but sir, how do we allow that? Sabi nga nila, we need to let the newsroom evolve as well. Kasi I don't know, I might be older than you. Medyo magaling lang ako magtago ng edad, ano? But if you and I were to tour all the newsrooms in the Philippines or abroad, they are essentially managed, run, or ruled by seniors like you and me. And we transfer, we pass on all the values and rules that we inherited from our mentors, who were traditionalists, conservative, and who would follow, the bigger the disaster, the better the headline kind of thinking. How do we allow evolution to happen in the newsroom so much so na it is not as negative as it generally is? Or is that something dangerous because that could lead to less viewership? Yung ating bang merkado or our customers, are they just really driven by ugly events?
Well, I think that can be helped out naman siguro, no? What you're saying of people running the newsroom is something that have to be addressed, no? Ang sinasabi mo na mayroong experience, mayroong may edad, then yung mga bata, I think that can be a good combination. Plus yung walang humpay na, seminars and orientation sa mga miyembro natin dito. We have that program in the KBP, no? Ginagawa natin yan. And of course, we encourage the member networks to have that always, no? Na yung mga tao sa network, sa mga news departments natin ay papag-aralin and then i-orient from time to time so that gawin nila yung tama. Hindi lang puro negative yung istorya. There are a lot of interesting stories that are not negative but can be, attractive to the people, no? So yun, maraming magawa yan. Siguro continuous lang yung education, siguro, Cito.
Okay, speaking of organizations such as the KBP and those overseeing print, social media, etc., if there are, what's your reaction to the fact that some politicians and politicians in conspiracy with businessmen, imbis na idemanda ka, instead of filing cases against you, harassing you, etc., I have heard of several cases where they just buy the company. Kumbaga, wag mo lang hawayan pare, bilhin mo na lang yung kumpanya para tumahimik na yung mga yan. And I don't want to put you into the spot, no, or in the spot, sir, but it's a cause for concern. I appreciate that. Thankfully, maybe no one will shoot a journalist anymore. But I do know that several broadcasters have lost their jobs in corporate tug-of-wars. Several journalists have been put out to pasture because no newspaper would take them anymore for fear of losing advertising, etc., etc.
Well, that is sad if that is happening. But, even the owners maybe or the operators themselves have to be, oriented about those things. Na kailangan, it has always to be that we are anchored on a strong foundation na yung balita, the stories that we carry, yun ang una, dapat unahin natin. Now, kung may mga pressure naman yan, Cito. Ako, I know also in fairness to many major networks, meron tayong revenue generation, di ba? Sabi ko, we have the sales, the billing, and the collection. Trabaho nila yan. But we also have our news, sabi ko nga kanina, na pinapatrabaho natin to see to it na yung news maproteksyonan at ang anong truth ay yung ipalabas nila Cito. No? And I know of many who would sacrifice their revenue para lang mapamanatili o ma-maintain yung truthfulness at accuracy ng kanilang balita. And if they're doing that, they wouldn't allow others to tinker with their work coming from outside forces for vested interest. Maraming hindi naging successful sa ganyan. Of course, there will be attempts, especially from, politicians, even local leaders, politicians, Cito. They have thought that, owning a radio station could help propel them to the objectives nila sa politika. But, that is not the case. No, it's not that easy. So maraming, pari those.
But what? Sorry, Sarah. What is the KBP or our sector or industry doing about protecting the integrity and the purity of media? Because it is a growing trend. I'm unfortunately ayoko naman mademanda, pero it is a growing trend that several newspapers have changed hands from one politician to the other. Hindi lang natin nakikita kasi ang mga bumibili businessmen kuno. And then several broadcasters have lost their jobs, etc. But what is the KBP doing to protect the professional, the practitioner? Kasi we're talking about corporate profits, we're talking about protecting and preserving the integrity of the news. But what about guys like you and me? I mean, I don't know if you agree. But the constant fear of any journalist and broadcaster is not really about someone not liking them or getting even, but losing their job. Because if they lose their job, they can't feed families and there's nothing to protect them.
Well, the decision there should come from us, from the broadcasters and from the owners themselves, if they will allow that to happen. Like for example, there's somebody who's interested in one small network. For example, gusto niya bilhin. Of course, problema yan ng broadcaster, problema ng network yan. But the decision naman to sell maybe could come from the owners. That also has to be respected. Now, as to the journalist, well, if he feels that, going under that process would result for him to work under a vested interest like that of a politician, then he should, true journalists wouldn't allow him to work under the circumstances. And under that circumstance, he should look for a better job or opportunity within the organization. Because as I said, there are still a lot of networks who are into, protecting the industry, our industry, Cito. This is part of the challenge that we are facing right now. But again, as I said, tayo naman sa media, tayo sa organization, sa KBP. Hindi tayo, no retreat, no surrender tayo. We have to do our share, we have to do our job, we have to continue doing what we are doing para lang sa ating mga tagapakinig, sa ating mga tagapanood.
But do you believe that dapat magkaroon ng batas? Should there be a law or a body, an official body that can screen these things? Kasi at the end of the day, baka mangyari paramihan na lang ng pera or ipita na lang ng franchise. I'm not referring to any political situation. I'm talking future here. That one day someone will just buy all the TV stations or buy all the newspapers, etc., or get some congressmen to just essentially strangle Philippine media, and we will all wake up regretting that we didn't do anything about it today. Like also for ensuring the well-being of practitioners na makalaban lang ng kumpanya yung isang big advertiser, tanggal na sa trabaho yung empleyado.
Well, that indeed is a danger, no? That continues to haunt us, no? Pero again, it's good that we are together.
Is the KBP lobbying for something like this, an official body or a law that will protect the interest of journalists, broadcasters, and companies? Because let's be honest, Sir Herman, because what's happening also is paglabas na ng panahon, ipitan na ng franchise. And I have spoken to some company owners who said, grabe, napakamahal ng franchise. Sabi ko, may binabayaran ba yan? Hindi, maraming binabayaran.
Well, again, that is a danger that we have to really face, and we have to do something about it, no? Kasi may mga nangyari na, di ba? But importante kasi ito, we have this organization where we can get together and then come up with steps to prevent this, no? There are talks, like for example, na hindi na kailangan sana yung franchise, Cito. There are countries na hindi na kailangan yung frankisa eh. Or even, granting na kailangan pa yung frankisa ngayon, there is a move in the House and the Senate. Actually, this is the drill-on bill. Na even if so that what happened to ABS-CBN will not happen again. No? That even if your franchise has expired and yet you already have filed a bill in the House, you should be allowed to continue to operate. Yun ang bill ngayon that is in the Senate. We're trying to lobby na sana maipasa because that will help a lot of the broadcast networks whose franchise are about to expire. Isa yun sa initial step. But sana yung isang importante dyan na hindi na kailangan yung frankisa for a public utility to continue operating, for a public utility, for a network, for broadcast networks to operate, continue operating, Cito.
Okay, well, clearly I have hanggang kailan ba ang term of your presidency mo sa KBP, Sir Herman?
Up to the end of this year, Cito.
Ay, salamat. So I can look forward to interviewing you a few more times because you are the first KBP president who ever appeared in any of my programs. Puro iwas pusoy yung mga nauna sa'yo. Pagsabihan mo, naturingan pang KBP president. Ayaw naman magpa-interview. Anyway, Sir Herman, thank you very much for your time this morning. And I know that we are facing multiple challenges to our profession, to our lives, to the quality of our work, and to the organization. And last question lang, Sir Herman. What are you planning to do regarding this Reuters study? Because it's a serious material.
Well, I think we have to learn from some of the items that came out. Although some of it, Cito, I also beg to disagree. No? Like for example, na mawala ang interest nila sa balita. I think that can be temporary lang. For as long, again, as we just dish out what is truthful, later pabalik din yan sila. Kasi kailangan din ng tao na malaman kung anong nangyayari sa paligid nila. They just wanna close their eyes to what's happening. Bubulaga na lang yung mga pangyayari sa harap nila dahil hindi nila alam yung balita. I think that has to be addressed also. And hopefully people would go back to us. Those who have, the news avoidance should go back to listening to our news, especially from the mainstream media na meron tayong betting, meron tayong screening na ginagawa. No, I'm not saying na yung social media wala. No? That is one issue. That is also one problem that has to be addressed. Meron mga responsibility na makasama natin sa social media. But in the mainstream, there is always that rule that we follow. Now we come up with what is truthful.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Herman Basbaño, KBP President. Maraming salamat sa oras mo, sir. Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, now yung study na ginawa, sabi ko kasi kanina University of Journalism, walang University of Journalism ang Reuters. Ewan ko ba, you have to excuse me. We have had some challenges over the weekend, but it is a report released globally on June 15 by the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism. Okay, we'll now go for a break, and after the break, we will go to our next interview regarding the concerns of certain teachers who want to do face-to-face classes, pero time out muna, bigyan nyo kami. They want to also be able to get a summer vacation of sorts. But the DepEd said, well, guys, we need to hold remedial classes for the students who got left behind due to the lockdowns. How to resolve that problem, we'll find out when we come back from the break. The DepEd's issuance of order number 25 that will extend the work of teachers beyond school year 2021 that ends this June 24. Ito pong linggong to, magtatapos na dapat ang school year. However, the DepEd issued order number 25 and will hold intervention classes, remedial classes from July 24 to August 12, which will eat into the guaranteed 2-month summer vacation, traditional summer vacation for teachers. In fact, actually, some have already said it's not even a full 2 months because they still do closing work and preparatory work in between the school year. So anyway, let's get to know our next guest representing the Teachers Dignity Coalition.
Benjo Basas is National Chairman of the Teachers Dignity Coalition. A graduate of the Philippine Normal University, Basas has been a public school teacher since 2002. He fell short of a seat in Congress in 2019 when he ran as first nominee of the Partido Lakas ng Masa party list.
Okay, Chairman Benjo Basas, good morning to you, sir.
Yes, good morning, Sir Cito, at good morning po sa lahat ng viewers po natin.
Aba, nadinig ko pala ang yung interview sa'yo where you said that you guys are looking forward to face-to-face classes pero mukhang nagkaroon ng complication. Parang Facebook, ano? Relationship complicated. Ano ba? What's going on? Why is there a problem? Were you never consulted regarding these remedial classes? Did you not see this coming?
Well, medyo nakakagulat nga, Sir Cito, no? Sapagkat, of course, no, willing naman kami parate no, na makipag-usap sa Department of Education. But then, surprisingly, no, they released this memo 2 weeks ago. No, at inuutusan niya yung mga teacher, no, yung mga bata no, na mag-undergo nung end of the school year classes. No? We call it end of the school year classes. No? Particularly no ngayong panahon na to dahil hindi naman daw ito summer no which is tama rin naman no but pag sinabi nating end of the school year classes ibig sabihin no we're gonna have classes no beyond the school year no at the end of the school year no at yun nga po yung aming contention po dito na dahil supposedly no in between academic years no meron dapat kaming at least no 2 months no na school break no for the preparation ano ng upcoming school year and of course no yung aming mga trabaho no na end of the school year tasks namin na napakarami niyan kaya sa totoo lang tama yung sinabi mo Sir Cito no na hindi naman talaga ito full 60 days no pero kung i-establish pa at i-institutionalize ng DepEd no that there will be 3 weeks no there will be 15 days no na remedial or enrichment classes by di lalo nang naubusan kami no so ng trabaho no? Parang hindi naman yata ito makatarungan at labag sa batas in the first place.
Okay, but wala bang consultations prior to the decision kasi one would imagine that like the Teachers Dignity Coalition and the ACT, etc. One would imagine you guys are such big organizations na hindi pwedeng hindi kayo konsultahin or you must have representation within the DepEd.
Well, unfortunately, wala po. No? And then this is in itself is a violation of an existing law, no? The Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, no? Which mandates no? A consultation, no? Prior consultation to the affected stakeholders, especially no? In particular, public school teachers or national organizations. No? Of public school teachers, tama po kayo, organizations, so that's plural, no? So we have ADC, we have ATC, ACT, and other organizations, no? That sabi nga ng batas ay dapat kinukonsulta, no? Doon sa mga policies, no? In fact, Sir Cito, no, few days after that release of the memorandum, no, or of that order, ay sumulat kami, no, formally, no, sa ating kagawaran ng edukasyon, no, in particular, no, kay Yusek Malaluan, no, who signed the memo, no, in behalf of the secretary no dahil siya yung OIC that time no and until now hindi pa rin naman po kami nakakatanggap ng any reply no and we're still anticipating no that meeting siguro exit meeting na rin yan if ever no because they are actually leaving no the department.
Okay, now so at the end of the day the question is how many students are we talking about? Siyempre, it is the children's benefit that we must first consider. Ika nga,
Yes.
masarap magbakasyon pero ang hirap naman tanggaping nakahiga ka dun sa dalampasigan, yung bata mukmok sa walang kaalaman, ano, or whatever. But how many students are we talking about here? Is it such a widespread problem? Is it nationwide? How many percent of the student population needs remedial classes?
Well, as of now, Sir Cito, mahirap pa natin siyang makita, no, dahil hindi pa naman tapos yung school year, no, at tuloy-tuloy pa naman. Well, ngayon po, no, at this very moment, no, actually ako mismo ay tinatapos ko pa lang yung aking grades at mukhang halos lahat naman ay papasa. Maliit na bilang ito, no, pero depende, no, depende po yan doon sa appreciation ng teacher, no, depende po doon sa kung gaano ka-stricto yung eskwelahan, ano, at well, of course, no, 2 years, no, under the pandemic education po, no, naging malaking factor talaga, no, yung puso, no, ng mga teacher, yung ating tinatawag nating consideration in giving out those grades, no, and then in terms of appreciation of the tasks, the performance of our students, no, so malaking factor, no, yung ating consideration. But nevertheless, no, just to clarify, no, Sir Cito, no, we are not totally opposed, no, to the idea of remedial classes. Tama ka naman, mahirap naman na nagbabakasyon ka, no, and then alam mo naman yung mga bata hindi natuto, no, but this end of the school year classes or this summer classes po na tinatawag ko, no, dalawa ito, no. One is the remedial classes, no, for the students po who got at least up to, no, grades, no, in 2 subjects po, no, na less than 75, no, ibig sabihin fail, no, and sila yung mag-undergo ng remedial classes, no, and meron din tayong students po, no, ito mas marami yung bilang nito, no, na nakakuha ng mababang grade, no, that is 75 to 79, which is actually a passing grade. Di ba? Ibig sabihin, pag binigyan mo ng 75 yung bata, no, well, ang tawag natin dito dati, pasang-awa, di ba? Pero pag binigyan mo ng 75 yung bata, ibig sabihin, na-comply niya yung mga requirements mo. Ibig sabihin, yung 75% ng expected mo na competencies ay nakuha niya, and therefore, pumasa siya. No? But the thing is, no, the irony is, no, well, the DepEd would compel you, no, and these children, no, to undergo another almost a month, no, of classes, no,
Benjo,
during the school break.
Even if a student gets 75 to 79,
Yes.
they are still required to undergo the enrichment classes. For what purpose or to what end?
Well, ang sabi po ng DepEd dito, ako I could appreciate, no, and I would appreciate po, no, yung sinasabi naman ng DepEd dito, no, baka daw kasi medyo hindi talaga masyadong natuto yung bata, no, at kinakailangan, kaya nga we call it enrichment, di ba, para doon po sa another year level o grade level.
I think,
no, next
I think
year ay mas prepared siya.
baka naman, Benjo, we're just being polite. Pasensya ka na, partner, ano? Pero kasi pag sinabing baka kasi hindi natutunan lahat, is there a possibility that the DepEd is doing this to, just in case some of those students or many of those 75 to 79, what we traditionally call pasang-awa, may have simply been passed by the teacher para wala na siyang cargo after the school year?
Well, that's of course, hindi naman natin honestly, no, hindi ko naman i-deny, no, na may mga ganyan pong scheme na ginagawa, no, at syempre, no, titignan din po natin yung factor, no, ng sobrang dami ng trabaho ng teachers. I wouldn't want to sound like I'm justifying it, no, Sir Cito, no. Of course, hindi yan tama, no, kung sakasakali, no, na ipapasa lang natin para wala na tayong problema. Kasi supposedly, the practice would be ipapasa mo yung bata dahil nakapasa siya. Diba? Dahil nakapasa siya. But then ang ating kanina sinabi ko na po, no, under the pandemic situation, under the education under this crisis, no, talagang maobliga ka, no, maobliga ka na habaan, no, yung pasensya or magbigay ng napakaraming consideration. Baka hindi mo alam kasi walang laptop yung pamilya niya, no, walang internet connectivity, walang nagtuturo sa kanya, no, and everything. Kaya nga ang lumalabas po ngayon itong ating school year 2020 to 2021 and 2021 to 2022, parang hindi token, no, pero parang it's a nominal, no, na education, no.
But in
mahirap
effect,
po ito, no. Ang hirap din na maging strict, no.
pero Benjo, in effect parang the DepEd wants to compensate for all those things na sinabi mo, na dahil nga walang internet, walang nagturo, hindi makapunta sa school, etc. Kumbaga baka sakali lang para lang makasiguro, dagdagan na natin ng 15 days yung pagtuturo dito sa mga batang to para kung ano man yung kakulangan na alam ng teacher, maibibigay. But my question is, who will teach these batches or these particular students? Will it be their direct mentor o teacher, or ito ba pagsasama-samahin sa isang lugar at okay, upo kayong lahat Monday, mathematics tayo, Tuesday, English, Wednesday, etc. Paano ba yung approach raw?
Well, that's one reason why we are actually asking for a dialogue with the Department of Education. Hindi po clear yan kung paano, no? Hindi alam kung sino yung magtuturo, no? Pipili lang ba among the teachers of that particular school na magtuturo ng lahat ng bata, no, sa isang particular subject, o kaya yung mga teacher ba na nambagsak mismo, quote and unquote, no, nambagsak, no? Sila ba yung magtuturo sa kanilang mga estudyante na binagsak? Hindi po yan malinaw, no? And that's the reason, Sir Cito, bakit kami gustong makipag-usap sa DepEd, no? In fact, yung sinasabi po ninyo, no, na sabi ko nga po, no, we are not totally opposed to the idea, no, of remedial and enrichment classes. Dahil, well, I for one, I do recognize na baka talaga merong mga pagkukulang because of those factors, no, that I have mentioned, no po, no? Pero pwede naman kasi na embedded, no, dun sa school year yung enrichment program na sinasabi.
Sa following school year.
Hindi naman kinakailangang pabalikin mo during the vacation.
Kumbaga, okay, pag natapos na yung school year at na-advance na sila sa susunod na grade or next grade level, they will simply have to do additional school work. Correct?
Pwede po. No, in fact, pwede rin nga, Sir Cito, after all, ang ating grading period naman every quarter We have 4 quarters po. No? So may kita kagad ni teacher. No? Sa first quarter pa lang, may kita niya kung saan medyo merong pagkukulang yung bata. No? Doon pa lang, pwede na kagad siyang magkaroon ng remedial.
Pero Benjo, pakilinaw lang. Kasi sinasabi mo, 75 to 79. So yun, pasang-awa, enrichment. Sorry, panahon ko, pag ako naka-75, binibigyan ako ng medalya. Ngayon parang pasang-awa pa. No? Pero okay, 75 to 79, by standards, you passed. You did not pass with flying color, but you passed. What about those who failed? Will they also be part of this enrichment so they can pass? Or yung fail, walang awa-awa?
Yun po yung sinasabi ko kanina na dalawa, no? Yung failed po, no, meron silang remedial class, no? So para hindi po magkalito, natawag diyan ng DepEd remedial class, no, for those who got failed grades po, no, at enrichment naman doon sa mga low grades, no, na 75 to 79. Yung remedial class, tama po yan, mas clear ito no. Kaya kami remedial class, no, in order for you to advance to the next year level, to the next grade level. No, hindi ka pumasa sa dalawang subjects mo, let's say sa English at saka sa araling panlipunan, no, kukuha ka, no, during the summer. Para pagpasok po ng next school year, pwede ka na mag-enroll, no, doon sa next grade level. Itong enrichment po, wala eh. Talagang papasok ka na sa next grade level, no? Pero gusto ko pang i-enrich ng DepEd no, for 15 days. Parang gano'n.
So totoo pala yung sinasabi nila that under the new culture, not just DepEd but globally yata, none of the kids fail. Kumbaga parang failing is not an option. That kung hindi ka pumasa, mag-remedial ka para mapasa ka namin. Totoo. Kasi, I'm sorry Benjo, no? Panahon ko, hello, pag marami-raming pula doon sa report card mo, walang awa-awa, walang remedial. Repeat ka. Uso pa ba yung repeat ngayon?
Meron po, no, pag lumampas po ng dalawa, no, yung subject na ibinagsak mo talagang uulit ka, no. At least ngayon po, no, binibigyan naman po ng depende po kasi no, nagbabago-bago kasi no, yung ating curriculum pati yung mga units no earned no. Pero ngayon po ganyan po yung rule ng DepEd po natin.
Okay, so what are you proposing, or what is the prayer of the organization, Teachers Dignity Coalition?
Well, yun nga po, gusto naming magkaroon ng usapan para ma-clarify po ito no. As I have mentioned po, hindi naman kami totally opposed no, dahil we like the idea of course no, helping out no, our students no, na may struggle no, doon po sa learning no, doon sa pagkuha doon sa competencies of course na napaka importante naman considering no that we are in this situation
okay.
na talagang mahirap po talaga no, both sa parents, sa bata no, and even po sa teachers no. Kaya siguro to compensate this po kinakailangan talagang maging malinaw lang no sa DepEd para naman
ano bang Benjo, ano bang labanan natin dito? Assuming DepEd says sorry Benjo, but we cannot sacrifice the education of children. We need to push through with this. Ano ang balak ng mga guro? Kayo ba will you push for special overtime pay? Will you push for an alternative approach to the remedial or to the enrichment program katulad nung nasuggest ko na add-on load na lang in the next school year? What are your plans?
Dalawang bagay po yan no. We can have alternative remedial classes no, or we can have alternative enrichment classes po no, na pwede naman no, binabagit ko nga pwede naman na nasa loob ng school year no. Well, maliban doon sa remedial no, sa remedial po para ma-advance yung bata sa next grade level, kailangan naman po talaga niya no, na gawin yan ngayong summer. At doon po sa dito sa school break no, at dito po sa school break hindi rin kami totally no, totally opposed no. Ang sabi nga lang po namin dito, ayusin lamang, gaya po ng isang issue, binanggit ko na po, no? Kinakailangan naman, i-compensate mo yung mga teachers dahil pinagtatrabaho natin sila beyond no, their normal duties, beyond the school year. Pinagtatrabaho mo, no? Well, by the way, Sir Cito, gusto ko lamang inform kayo at ang lahat ng mga kababayan natin ng public school teachers natin, tangi no, sa mga public school teachers, no? Kami lamang po ang walang overtime, ang walang leave no, wala kaming summer or vacation leave or wala kaming sick leave, even sick leave wala po kami niyan ano po no. Sa ibang mga empleyado, sa ibang mga magagawa, private man o public, meron yan. Anong binabanggit dito ng gobyerno? Because compensated kami no during our during the vacation ano po. Pag nawala yun, ibig sabihin nawala rin yung compensation sa amin, and they have to at least no pay for that.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Benjo Basas of the Teachers Dignity Coalition. Good luck. We wish that and pray that makapaghanap kayo ng DepEd ng resolution for this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, that's Benjo Basas of the Teachers Dignity Coalition. Let's now go to the blessing for the week before we close the program. And it is from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 8. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and on everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land He is giving you. God bless all of you. Thank you for joining us here on Agenda. Please keep it here on One News PH.